Hi, this is Starkey Sowers. Welcome again to another Plus Program training series. Today's topic is digestion, and this is part 1. So you might be thinking, digestion, why is that so important? One thing to remember about digestion is this: if you can't digest and assimilate your foods into the body, you actually have no health. A lot of people say that digestion is the key to health and a longevity, so to speak, when it comes to like having a long life and healthy life. So one of the things to remember about digestion is this: it's absolutely necessary. So let's look at a couple things. Number one, when we look at a raisin, or when let's say we look at a sesame seed, a raisin is 1,000 times too large for the body to actually use it. A sesame seed is 100 times too large for the body to use it. So think about a sesame seed. That's pretty small. Ultimately, what happens is the body's still got to tear this thing down into literally dust or dirt, so to speak, to be able to assimilate it into the body. All right. So when it comes to digestion, it becomes critical because the body has to be able to take the nutrients out of these particular foods that we give it and assimilate it or suck it into the body. So you might be thinking, well, what do you mean different types of nutrients? So when we look at nutrients, one of the things that we know is this: foods have different types of nutrients. Specifically, what we call macronutrients are proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Proteins, fats, and carbohydrates not only provide energy, they also produce what we call the structure of our body. That is what builds our body, so to speak, is proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Additionally, we also need what we call micronutrients, which are the vitamins and minerals. Vitamins and minerals activate the cells, so to speak, to be able to use the macronutrients to build our body. All right? So we need macronutrients and we need micronutrients, and these are the things that actually foods provide for us. So in order to be able to assimilate this in, the digestive system's got to be working ample and fully all the time. All right, so there's a couple different phases of digestion. First of all, there's a chemical process, and there's also a mechanical process. One of the things I want to do today is I want to look at the digestive system and maybe just kind of outline it so you can understand it a little bit. So when we look at the digestive system, we see a couple unique things. Number one, the mouth is the primary center for digestion. You're supposed to chew your foods 20 to 50 times with every single bite. Most of us, including myself, typically don't do this. Very commonplace for us to not actually chew effectively. A couple things happen though when we do chew effectively. Number one, we produce saliva. Saliva actually not only helps to lubricate, but also has some enzymes in it. Specifically, saliva has amylase. So amylase is a particular enzyme that breaks down starches. So if you chew your foods thoroughly and for a long period of time, what amylase actually does, and if you hold it in your mouth, especially if it's a starch, you can actually feel it kind of getting a little bit sweet. So it's one of the things that happens chemically. All right, then we swallow our foods and it goes down to our stomach. When we look at the stomach produces hydrochloric acid and pepsin. And in part 2, we'll go through these things a little bit more in detail. Hydrochloric acid and pepsin has some great functions. And so then once it passes through the stomach, it goes into the small intestine. So as it goes through the small intestine, it picks up a couple different things. It picks up pancreatic enzymes from the pancreas. It also picks up lipase, amylase, and proteases as those enzyme fractions, as well as it also picks up some bile. And bile is an emulsificant. We'll look at that a little bit as we go on to the next segment as well too. So as the food moves through, once again, it's going to go through literally about 22 some odd feet, so to speak, of digestive tubes or the small intestine. And ultimately, it's going to terminate in what we call the large intestine or the colon. And so as it goes through the large intestine and the colon, the body sucks out the water that has been hydrated in from all the digestive fluids, and it also forms what we call the stool in a bacteria environment. All right, so that kind of gives us a little overview, so to speak, of the digestive system. One of the things that we have to remember is this: that whole process of movement happens with peristalsis. So when we look at peristalsis, one of the things that we have to note is this: the digestive system is what we call slave to what we give it. So I want you to remember that. That's one of the big takeaways, so to speak, for this particular session. Peristalsis happens when we start chewing, we swallow, automatically takes over. Literally, you could chew something, turn yourself upside down, swallow food, and the mechanical action, so to speak, picks up and moves the food through the digestive system. That movement, so to speak, is regulated through what we call the autonomic nervous system. So the autonomic nervous system, specifically the parasympathetic nervous system, is literally automatically in control. You don't think about it. You don't sit there and go, oh, look, check it out. Okay, food, I'm going to ingest you. Now you need to move to the stomach. Now you need to go to the small intestine so we can break it down. No, you never think about it. The body just moves this food through the body as you swallow and chew the food, away it goes. And throughout the whole body, we end up with a peristaltic action where you never think about it until it's ultimately eliminated. So the keynote that we're going to remember today is this. Your body needs good, healthy foods to build a good, healthy body. At the same time, it's also slave to whatever you put in it. I mentioned we put a penny in and it went through. You're obviously not going to get pennies into your system for a healthy body. So the last key that I want you to remember is this. Eating the right types of foods not only helps to improve digestion and assimilation, but it also helps you build the right body. So remember, the slave to the system is the digestive system. Feed it with the right types of foods, and you're going to have a much healthier body and a much more longevity system, so to speak, for a long time. This is Starkey Sowers. Thanks again for watching another Plus Program training series.